Alright guys, what's going on? BusterBarnes here, bringing you my first Fantasy Premier League video on this YouTube channel. A game that I'm a little bit addicted to, I think my friends would say. But yeah, over the next season I'm going to be bringing you FPL videos throughout all of the weeks, you know, doing previews of what I'm thinking of doing or what you guys can do, and bringing you reactions as well to how my team has done, so we can sort of keep up with each other. But if you guys actually want to join the official BusterBarnes Fantasy Premier League, you can do so by putting in the code that is at the top of the screen. Nice little overlay that I've got going on. I will improve on that, but you know, I did want to try and get this video out just before the deadline did happen. I think this video will probably be going up on Thursday. So yeah, without further ado, I want to show you guys my team. And if we have a look here, as you can see, the first player on the screen is the goalkeeper, Alex McCarthy. Now, I'm pretty set on this as him being my goalkeeper. I wanted it to be a 4.5 option, and it was basically between him and Matt Ryan. And I do think that Southampton may have the better overall season, at least that's my prediction anyway. And I do want this goalkeeper to most likely be a set and forget choice. So yeah, just going to have McCarthy, and hopefully someone like Gunn doesn't, you know, take out his place. I know that McCarthy is known to sometimes have an injury, but hopefully that is all behind him. Going on to the defence, I'll talk about my bench, by the way, at the end of the video, guys. The first name in my defence, a name that is pretty much on most people's defences. I believe he's the highest owned player in Fantasy Premier League at the moment. That is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yeah, highest scoring defender last season. I mean, he scored more points than other midfielders who were 7.5 million, so I think having him is a no-brainer. I wouldn't even put it past people or blame people for having a double Liverpool defence, but yeah, I just wanted to invest my money in some other places at the start, so I haven't quite gone there yet. But you know, these things could change. You know, I'm not 100% set on this team, guys. Things can change. Probably more likely some of the bench players, or maybe one or two starting players, but I am fairly set on this team. The other two defenders, Justin for Leicester, they have some decent fixtures, you know, could keep some clean sheets. Maybe we'll get some attacking returns at right back. He's not a long-term pick though. And I also have Vinagre, who in the past few days has actually been rumoured to maybe be going to Portugal or being sold at least. So that has really hampered my plans, because I've had him in my team for quite a while now, and I think I'm going to keep him in for the first week, because even though I don't want to be transferring out, you know, a 4.5 million defender, I kind of want them to stay in the team for a bit. Hopefully some of my bench players will come on to replace him, at least in the first few weeks. So it shouldn't be too bad if he doesn't start, and if he does start, absolute bonus. But to be fair with the defence, obviously Burnley aren't playing in the first week. They have some good 4.5 million options that I will look at as the weeks go on. Also, Sheffield United have signed 3 new defenders. They've signed Bogle, they've signed Lowe, I believe, and they've signed Ampadu on loan. So all 4.5 million. So if any of them break into that Sheffield United defence, or midfield if it is the case for Ampadu, then they will be straight in my team as well. The reason I didn't go with a 5 million goalkeeper is I don't really like spending that much, but also they didn't really stick out to me. Like Ramsdale, I'm not sure he'll be doing as good as Henderson did last season, so I don't think going there is much of an option at the moment. But anyway, I will be going on to the midfield now. First name, and my captain is Mohamed Salah. Now, might not captain him, it could be Aubameyang, but I think I'm set on Salah, and to be fair, it is just because it has the home fixture symbol, which doesn't necessarily mean loads because there's no fans, but you know, people were sort of, I think it's a bit of a differential captain slightly, just because I think most people are staying away from him because he maybe hasn't had the best pre-season. And whilst I do take into account some pre-season games, I just think it's Salah. He has loads of shots, could go in, newly promoted side Leeds, might not be used to the Premier League yet or the style, could get caught off guard. You know, or it could just be like a 0-0. Who even knows? I mean, it is football, so I guess anything could happen. But Salah also potentially on penalties as well, so he is probably going to be my captain. I don't think I'll be taking him out of my team before the week starts. Maybe he'll get removed a few weeks in, depending on how he does, but I'm not too sure. This is my sort of out there. Well, to be fair, I say out there, I think a lot of people still have him. He's like my budget midfield option. Saint Maximin at 5.5 million. decent fixtures, I believe, at the start of the season. You know, he's got Tottenham away, but can Newcastle do bits there? Yes. Man United at home. We did see Newcastle beat Manchester United at home last season. With Callum Wilson and Fraser as well, joining him on the front three. It sounds exciting. On paper, that's an exciting attack. Maybe, you know, it is Newcastle. They are prone to have a bit of a meltdown and just collapse. Steve Bruce is their manager as well. I do respect Steve Bruce, by the way, but, you know, who knows how that's going to go. So, yeah, I'm just hoping that he can maybe tick over and get some points. At 5.5 million, he doesn't need to be scoring every single week, but I'd at least like to see some form of returns from him. My next midfielder is Son. Now, I'll get onto this a bit later, but Son has only come into this team a bit recently. He has had a good pre-season, but obviously with Kane not being involved in pre-season, maybe his role will change. But, you know, Son does score goals. He does usually score high points. So I have faith that he should hopefully in the first few weeks get some decent returns. And Aubameyang, my other premium midfielder. Him and Salah are always going to be the options for me, especially with United and City missing the first week. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking of having Aubameyang the first 2 weeks and then getting rid of him. I could potentially do the same, to be fair. Move him down maybe to a Sterling or a De Bruyne. I think that's what a lot of people are thinking of doing. I might jump on that trend also. But I think he is a good option to have. He might be... Actually, you know what? At the end, I will give you guys my predictions for the top scorers in each position. So I'll leave that till the end. But I do think Aubameyang will get a lot of points. He's on penalties as well. So yeah, I'm not sure I'll have him, you know, the whole season. But I do think out of the options, he's just a must-have for the first 2 weeks of the game. Going on to my front line. Starting with Mitrovic, the sort of cheaper option, 6 million. Fulham have decent fixtures. If they're going to get goals, you'd think it'd be through him. Arsenal at home, now, they do look a little bit more organised at the moment. But to be fair, it is still Arsenal. You don't know. And Arsenal performed well in some of the bigger games, but haven't necessarily performed as well against the smaller teams, and I think that's a bit of a learning curve for Arteta. You know, it's easy to sort of sit back and counter. Well, not easy, but you know, you can sit back and counter attack all you want. But I think he hasn't necessarily sussed out the smaller teams yet. So maybe we can see Fulham get a return. Danny Ings, this is a bit of a recent change. I was tossing and turning between him and Jimenez, but Ings just has slightly better fixtures. Ings is still sort of in his prime years of his career, so I back him to still get returns. He could definitely go down to an Adams if Adams, you know, performs sort of the same as he does. So that would free up a lot of money. So we'll see how that goes. But at the moment, I think I'm sticking with Ings. He's on penalties also in his team. Should hopefully start despite obviously being in England, in the England setup for the Nations League. And the final person in my starting 11 is Werner. Now I'll talk about this now, guys. Son and Werner were originally Ziyech and Harry Kane. However, Ziyech obviously got that twist in his knee. It is, I believe, unlikely he's going to play the first game of the season, so I didn't want him. I was thinking of maybe going down to like a Hudson-Odoi or someone, you know, still wanting that Chelsea player, but I just thought maybe it's a bit too risky. We don't know if Chelsea were going to gel that well at the start. We don't know, because I'm slightly nervous about the Brighton game, guys, to be honest with you. A lot of our players won't be playing. We have some injuries. Obviously, new players are just coming into training, so I am a bit sceptical. So I'm staying away from the Chelsea midfielders just for now. And also, Harry Kane hasn't been that great. He hasn't scored in pre-season. He hasn't scored for England. Whilst I know this doesn't necessarily mean much, and he's also on penalties for Tottenham, to be fair, which is a factor, but I just thought I could either have Kane and Ali, or I could have Son and Werner, and Werner's just so highly owned that maybe it's a bit safe. I'll probably will maybe regret this, you know, because I'm still not 100% sure that Werner's going to go all guns blazing at the start. But it's a risk, guys. It just is, you know. I wanted Son. Son stood out to me a bit in midfield, so Werner is where I will have to go. I think these price points are quite decent as well. I can move up and down between certain players. However, one issue I am having, guys, and please leave it in the comments below what you guys are doing or what your plans are from Game Week 1 to 2. But I do want a Manchester United player, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Am I going to take away Salah or Aubameyang for a Rashford or Fernandes? Am I going to take away Son for Greenwood? Am I going to take away Werner for Martial? I'm not too sure. That will be a sort of... We'll see what happens and see how these guys perform in their first week. What will probably happen is none of them will perform and it will just be an absolute disaster. But Anyway, if we just have a look at the bench, Nyland as my backup. Obviously, Heaton is injured for maybe the first week or two, so there's a chance that Nyland might play or steer. Either way, there's not really a better option, I don't think, at 4 million anyway, so may as well be them. Mitchell will probably start the first few games for Crystal Palace, so like I said, if Vinagre doesn't play or start for me, Mitchell might be able to come in for him for the first few weeks. Obviously, Ferguson is the most appealing 4 million option, but he is injured at the moment. And to be fair, I'm seeing some people say, oh, I don't want to make the transfer, so I'm going to have Ferguson in from the start and hope that he plays later on. But if Mitchell starts the first few games for Palace, there is a chance that his price will rise. So, getting maybe a 0.1 or 2 million profit on Mitchell and swapping him for Ferguson, who could potentially even go down by 1, I think could be a good call. Johnson as well could start for West Ham. He actually could be a starter and therefore may actually make it in the starting 11 for me. Him and Fredericks are sort of the toss-up for right back at West Ham. And it is likely or potentially a case that he may overtake Fredericks' role. So definitely keep an eye on Johnson as well. My 4.5 midfielder is Reed. I have had Romeu in there. I've had Gordon in there. Gordon is maybe the most exciting option because he could potentially start for Everton or he could come off and get some goals. But I am treating it a little bit safe. Reed's coming into the Prem, did start for Fulham a lot last season, so, I'm hoping that maybe he gets a surprise goal or two. With Romeu, we know he's not going to get goal returns. Basuma's not a guaranteed starter, so Reed appealed to me the most, but they could change. Anyone on my bench could change, to be fair. Maybe Nyland changes to steer as well. If news comes out, he's more likely to start. But, yeah, guys, that is my team. I just want to quickly go and discuss my watch list as well. These are players that I think we should be watching. I've got Matt Ryan there, just in case. Doherty, Reece James as well, if he starts starting for Chelsea, and if Chelsea get a new goalkeeper. That is the thing about Chelsea, really. People are sort of staying away from the defence because of Kepa and goal. If Chelsea get a new keeper, and obviously Thiago Silva, Chilwell help out the defence, I think Reece James could be a very good option. Sterling, I'm thinking of bringing in. Probably should have De Bruyne there as well. Son I've actually brought in. So you can see, guys, him and Werner are actually on my watch list. But that shows how recently I've brought them in. Traore, Trossard for Brighton had a good end to the restart periods. Greenwood, Hudson-Odoi, so Adams as well, Antonio. These are all players that could come in. I think I'm actually going to live add some other players to there as well, and that will actually be all of the Sheffield United players or new defenders they brought in. I think all of these guys could be very good options, so that's a top tip there for me. Keep an eye on these guys. But going back to the team, I just want to discuss with you my predictions for the top point scorers in each position. Goalkeeper, I'm going to go with Nick Pope. Even though I don't necessarily think he's worth his price, I still think that Burnley keepers usually near the top. They just, they take a lot of shots from distance, equals a lot of saves from keepers, equals a lot of points. They get clean sheets as well. Nick Pope for me is going to be the top goalkeeper scorer in Fantasy Premier League. Defence, I think everyone thinks the same. Trent Alexander-Arnold. I could maybe try and go out there and predict someone else, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stick with Alexander-Arnold. Midfielder, I'm going to go for Aubameyang. Scores a lot of goals on penalties, can get the odd assist, will pretty much play all of Arsenal's games unless he gets injured. So I think Aubameyang will be the top scorer. Probably the top scorer in the whole season as well out of everyone. That's my prediction, even though I think it has been Salah the last 3 seasons. I'm going for Aubameyang to break that duct. And up front, I think I'm actually going to go for... It is actually kind of contradicts what I said earlier. I think I'm going to go for Harry Kane. Why not? He gets assists. He, could re-find his form and is on penalties. I think Tottenham will have a better season than last season. Mourinho is a bit defensive, so who knows? But I'm going to go with Kane to have a bit of a comeback this year. But yeah, guys, that is it. Like I said, the codes to join my Fantasy Premier League is up top at the top of this screen. I will also put the code in the description down below as well. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please be sure to leave a like if you did enjoy and subscribe to the BusterBarnes YouTube channel for Chelsea, football in general, Fantasy Premier League and the upcoming FIFA 21 content as well. And yeah, leave in the comments below what your guys' teams are, what you're thinking of doing, what your dilemmas are, because I would definitely like to hear your guys' opinions or even give advice if you guys want it as well. So like I said, join the league up top and I will see you guys next time.